Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UnWrapped podcast. I'm your host, Emily Vogel, and of course, I'm here with your other host, Andy Ortiz.
Hello,
Andy,
friends.
how's it
Hi.
going?
Listen, we're getting through. We're good. I think we can say good today. I feel like it's like a neutral good.
So basically, thriving. We're thriving.
How are you doing?
Everything's good here. Coachella happened last weekend.
Coachella did happen. Have you ever been to Coachella? I've never been.
I've been once. I'm definitely more of a stagecoach person because so basically there's weekend one, weekend two, and then stagecoach, and it's all uses the same space. And this though was my first year. Usually I always get FOMO, and this was the first year I'm like, dear God, thank the Lord, I'm not in the desert on the field.
It's just so much. It feels so extensive. Like that's all West Coast stuff. Obviously, I'm in Chicago. We have Lollapalooza. I always call it Lolla. I don't know if that's like universally a thing. It's Lollapalooza. But it's like but I've only been there once. I went for work because I used to work in radio, and it was like a one and done situation. It's a great show. They always get really good talent, but there's just so many people that I'm like, I don't need it. It's hot because it's in the summer. It happens in the summer.
Right.
It's like it's hot, it's gross, it's sticky. I don't need to be around people with like glitter on them. But like the people, listen, that's what I'll say for Coachella is when you look at the looks on social media, everybody looks just fire. Like they're all really exciting, like fun kind of fashion things. So that's entertaining at least. But I've never felt the need to be there.
No, I have been enjoying the fashion. I love seeing the celebrity fashion, like kinda like celebrities in the wild and like seeing
Yeah.
what they're wearing. I think that's really cool. I
Mm,
did love seeing that Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello kind of maybe rekindled. I feel
maybe.
like there was some footage and then everyone was like, they're not back together. And then I think today I saw that they were together. But I feel like right now there's just so many like new couples, like Kylie Jenner and Timothy Chalamet. Like
Yeah, that was one that I definitely did a double take on when I saw that come through my feed. Here's my thing though. At least from I want to know where you land on this. Are you invested in celebrity relationships? Because I will be honest, I'm not. Like there are a few that are like my holy grail that I love their relationships, and I will never ever tell you which ones they are. But like there are a few that like I do ship it. But I'm like celebrity romances are not necessarily my thing. I'm like live your life, do your thing. The thing is though, well, all right, hang on. But like where do you land on this? Are you into celebrity romances?
I'm really big into celebrity romances and friendships. I think it's so
That
fun, and
that I'm into the friendships. Like
yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off. But I really like I'm into the celebrity best friendships. Like we did an interview with Julianne Hough and Nina Dobrev for Power Women Summit this year, and I live for that. I love watching like best friends interact. That's maybe like a weird thing to say, but like someone told me once they were hanging out with me and my best friend. They were like, I just love seeing how you guys act together. It's so much fun. And I'm like, yeah, we are a fun group. So I don't know why. I've just always been way more invested in celebrity friendships than celebrity romances. That's
I
just
think I'm the most fascinated just by, again, like seeing people interact, and this is funny because I texted you last night because I was at an event with Bobby Cannavale. I can always say it wrong,
it's
even though
no,
we
but that's
learned
okay
how to
because I
say
did
it.
too. It's Cannavale. I always
Cannavale.
go like a little bit dyslexic because I always think it's Kavanaugh, like Kavanaugh, but like I don't know why. I've always messed it up. But or rather, I told Rose Byrne this
On the
on our
last
most recent
episode.
episode. Yeah, if you haven't listened to it, it's a great conversation, by the way. But Bobby Cannavale and Rose Byrne have been together for years. They have kids together. So Emily texts me a picture and she's just smiling away with Bobby Cannavale. And I was like, I'm sorry. It is I don't even know. Again, I don't know what day it is. It was a Wednesday night. I was like, what are you doing with Bobby Cannavale on a Wednesday night? That was a trip, I will be honest.
But it's so funny because I was at an event. He was there with Naomi Watts. They were doing a screening and a Q&A of their show, The Watcher. And so when they're
Ah,
during the Q&A, when they're just like, oh, he's just like, oh, I was with Rose or up Rose upstate. And it's like, oh my, he's talking about Rose Byrne. Like,
yeah.
it's so weird when they're just like first name basis, like
Yeah.
casual.
Right, because it's like and it's also like you kind of forget that like Hollywood really is probably like it's a smaller industry than people think. All these people have worked together. Rose was talking about how like she's been around the block enough that she works with people like more than once. So I'm always fascinated when someone like references a friendship that they have. And I'm like, I would have never even expected you guys to cross paths. So That's what I get invested in, is celebrity friendships, and that works out really great for this episode right here.
We are so invested. I think by the end, we're gonna flash to our really fun interview. But I think by the end, they might have been scared. Maybe we all became best friends. Like we'll leave it up for you to decide.
The thing is, I really do feel like this interview is like a glimpse into yours and my future. Like, and I told them that while we were talking to them. Like, I'm not going to set it up any more than that, besides thinking like, really watch how they interact, watch how Emily and I interact, and like knowing our personalities. And it's there. It's right there.
It's right there. But Andy, why don't you spill the beans? Who do we have today? Now that we've kind of like hyped it up so much.
Yeah, I know. We're like, we have great people. We're not going to tell you who they are. No, today we have an incredible producing duo. It is Susan Downey, aka the wife of Robert Downey Jr. But we don't like, that's not what she should be known as. She's an incredible, incredible producer for Team Downey, and she's an executive producer on HBO's Perry Mason, and she is with her producing partner, Amanda Burrell, also an executive producer on Perry Mason. They're just the best duo. I could sing their praises all day, but I feel like you should just enjoy our conversation with them. So let's roll that right now.
Woo-woo.
Susan and Amanda, hello and welcome to UnWrapped. We are so excited to be talking to you both. First and foremost, though, how are you? And I mean this, like, how are you genuinely? The world's on fire, always. It is a mess. So how are you actually today?
Well, I think we've both gotten over the jet lag. We were in Thailand on Sympathizer shooting there, which is it's 14 hours ahead.
No joke.
Yeah, it's no joke coming back. The reentry is a little rough, but we're good. Robert still isn't sleeping at night, which I have to hear about all morning. But, you know, I think we're
feeling alert. I mean, for the Thai thing was like at 3 o'clock, my body would just start shutting down. So we'll see. Today will be like, it's early enough now, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah,
we're good. Listen, that's how I approach every day. Is just we'll see. We'll find out. We'll find out how it is.
Cool with it.
We'll find out in real time. Well, Emily, and also, how are you? I need to know.
Yeah.
I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you both joining us, and welcome back to the States. Welcome home. I love when they say that at the Border Patrol.
I know. It totally is. It is like a weird moment.
Yes.
I'm about to go international for the first time in my life. I've never been outside the country, but I will be in like a few weeks here. And so I'm excited to experience jet lag and welcome back home. And I'm excited to
Where are you going?
Yeah.
I'm going to London and Scotland because I needed to start easy for my first time out of the country.
Oh, it's great. That's a good first, entry, and jet lag will get you there too. So you'll get the proper experience, but everybody's speaking English, which will be helpful for a first foray. So I think that was a very wise choice.
And food I recognize because I am a picky eater. So like we needed plates. I really needed to kind of cover my base.
I get it.
Exactly.
You're gonna have a great time.
Lord, I'm going on so many tangents already. Wait, Emily, I have to go on one more tangent.
Wait, Andy, I want you to tell Susan your connection.
I know. I want to be excited about this. Susan, we're from the same town. We went to the same high school. Very different, many years apart. But I went to Schaumburg High School. I live like 5 minutes from Schaumburg. Yeah.
Like what? Like still you do?
Yeah, I live 5 minutes from Schaumburg High School right now.
We're in Schaumburg still, or in like one of the? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody's from Schaumburg.
I'm in Schaumburg.
What the heck? I like how she had to say many years apart. I get it. Okay, I get it. But that's amazing.
That's
I know. It's wow.
You're always like explaining that you're like near Chicago.
Well, okay. Yeah. So I always say when people are like, "Where are you from?" I say Chicago, and Robert chimes in super quick with Schaumburg.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell if there's pride or if he's shaming me.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. Now, as a fellow Shami, you probably aren't sure either. I don't know if there's pride because look at what we've become, which is kind of great. But I also don't necessarily want to shame Schaumburg, but it is what it is. I mean,
look, I will be so honest with the people who are listening, who are watching this. In in some years, Schaumburg, at least by the high schoolers, the nickname was Scumberg. I would like to say I am not scum and Susan is not scum. It's just
No.
that's clever high school things. But like literally, there was a video that Robert did. I don't remember when, but he was like flying over Schaumburg and he was like, yeah, where Mrs. Downey went, you know, go Saxon or go Schaumburg. We clung to that. We clung to that at Schaumburg. Like that was our point of pride for a very long time. So I'm glad that we have this bonding experience right now.
That's insane. I have to sidebar with you when this is over because some guy who also went to Schaumburg reached out through our publicist with an ugly Schaumburg sweater. He designed this sweater that is like kind of like in the spirit of an ugly Christmas sweater, but it's all Schaumburg and Schaumburg Saxons and this and that. He's like, can I send it to Susan? And blah, blah. And I was like, bring it on. So I literally have it in my closet and I don't know when I'll ever wear it. I fear if I show it to Robert, he will wear it.
I was just going to say, Robert's wearing that. I hope it can fit him.
I think it can. It can look big, but yeah. Crazy.
Hilarious. I love that so much. Okay, I promise that was my last tangent. Emily, please get us on like an actual conversation.
No, I love it. Now I'm gonna go visit.
Yeah,
she says I'm gonna go visit. I've known you for how long? You haven't been here? Yeah, sure, right. Emily, you'll come visit.
No. Andy wants to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay, so now, let's get back to business. I want to talk about you two, Susan and Amanda. How did you both meet? When did you start producing together? Can you tell us your story?
Yes, you go. We're asked to back up a little bit, by the way. They'll cut that part.
Okay.
So about like 2010, Robert and I started Team Downey. We had already done a few movies together, and it was getting to a point where we realized we love working together. And quite honestly, if we didn't, we'd be working far apart because I'd be off producing here, he'd be off shooting there. And more often than not, we'd prefer to be together. So we started the company. And at that time, we didn't even know what to call it, which is kind of a joke because we were just like thinking of all these clever names that would require like a lot of explanation. Meanwhile, everybody on this movie we were doing at the time, Due Date, kept calling us Team Downey, but not me and Robert, but everybody who was working with us was like in reference to them was Team Downey. So finally we realized let's just call it Team Downey. And it really does mean everybody who is working with us at the company. And about a year, maybe a year and a half later, Amanda joined.
Yep.
And when we first started, we were very focused, Robert and I were very focused on features because that's the world we came from. It was also at a time where television was very different than it looks today.
Yeah.
It was still primarily dominated by network television. And then you had a couple like HBOs, a couple of the high end, cables, but that was it. But Amanda came in at kind of the end of 2011 and with our deal at Warner Brothers, we had a TV component to the deal. So we started dabbling a bit in television, kind of in like 2014. And then in earnest, we had moved Perry Mason from Warner proper as a feature over to HBO, still within the same family. And that was around 2016, 2017 is when we really committed to, this whole television had really shifted at that point. And the limited series was an opportunity to make things similar to the kind of movies we grew up loving. Character driven, but commercial. They weren't finding their space in the feature world as much anymore. So we pivoted Perry there. Yep. And from that point, I mean, Amanda just lit up our television division. And I mean, we're partners in it, but she really leads the charge in making sure that, as to borrow her own term, we're both kind of momentum addicted. So once we got Perry going and Perry was working, we're like, okay, what's the next one?
Yeah.
What's the next one? What's the next one? Did I miss anything?
No. I think the thing about television too, it was exciting because features just take a long time. That's also part of it. And I think I was a young executive and I just kept like hitting these walls of like, okay, so if you like the script, now we're gonna make it, right? You know what I mean? Like, all right. And then it was like and then you're just like, wait, what is happening? And so a lot of people that I was meeting was like, you should do television. Like there's a need there, not only for producers, but for content, for stories and all this stuff. So it actually became an area that was really inspiring. And then I think, at least for me, it was always like, I love that we meet the writer and then that's your partner. you know, it was very much like you kind of had your true north very early,
Mhm.
but then your job was to just create the space for them to do their best work and to protect them from some of the forces that are maybe too noisy or all of those things. So it felt like the path of producing was really clear. And so when we fell into that slipstream and then we were like, oh, like we actually see where our value is here, it kind of felt like we started to be inundated with just people excited to partner with us. And then that, you know, has come, you know, then Sweet Tooth was very soon after. It was all
Mhm.
kind of the same year.
Yeah.
It felt like we just like kind of hacked the system and then learned enough. And then it like felt like there was just a synergy.
Yeah.
So we've been really lucky to be very active since.
Good. Well, let's talk about that synergy, right? Because obviously you guys have been working together for many, many years now. A friendship has clearly developed. But here's the thing. Working with friends can be hard. Emily is an absolute nightmare. I mean, Emily's great, right?
Andy is the worst.
But I mean, legitimately, you always run into like some garbage claims from men on the internet that's like, oh, women work like friends working together. So what have been kind of the highlights for you of this friendship that you've developed and kind of, you know, fostered together?
I can start.
Go for it.
No, I mean, the thing that's interesting about it is I think, again, like I was a young executive. I was deeply intimidated by Susan Downey. I was like, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't even believe I've been saying like it was very like I was really enamored for a long time. And then, and maybe this, like, then I feel like I had a kid, to be honest. And
Mhm.
I also, and then we just like deeply connected as two moms, and then we just connected as humans, and then we started making stuff together, and that's the most intimate you can get, like when you're on
Yeah.
a set in the middle of the night. You know, like you're sitting there, and yeah, there's things that you are doing, but you're also like there's a lot of space and a lot of downtime, and we really like just I think connected on so many different things.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, she's really good at telling me when to calm down. She's really good at being like, you don't have to get all riled up about that. I run my redheadness. I run a little hot, and my momentum addicted thing. Like I just have a lot of energy towards kind of trying to find an outlet for it. And Susan is just such a good like resource on many levels to tell me to just it'll all be okay.
Well,
You know?
I think you've covered a lot of it. I think that in that sort of Venn diagram, there's definitely like an area where we hold our own space and there's the area where we overlap. And I think, you know, the most important thing is stepping back from both of those, and we can dig into those in a sec, is just we like each other, you know,
Yeah.
personality wise, like that is so important. And that's not that easy to find because, as she said, you're spending a tremendous amount of time together. And so going back to the other thing, though, I think that our tastes align very much. We love telling character-driven stories. But again, in spaces that scare us a little bit, like we always say, if we're not looking at each other at some point in the process and going, is this crazy? Like, are we like what are we doing? Like, is this a bad idea? Are we gonna get screwed for this? Like, then we probably aren't taking the risk that we should be.
Yeah.
Because we're not interested in doing something that's easy. We've had things submitted to us that we feel like, yeah, someone's gonna buy that. That'll probably get set up, but it just didn't excite us.
Mhm.
And then I think sitting outside of that area where our own space is, again, as Amanda said, we both really push. I think we probably are the people who work the hardest at the company in terms of always thinking, what can we do next? What can we do next? What can we do next? Yeah. And as moms, we're always multitasking. So it's a little bit of just throw that on the pile,
Just keep going.
But I do know, like, there are times where just I've had more years of experience to know when to settle down and follow the process.
Yeah.
Like, as much as we want to will that into existence, you have to let a couple things happen before you do the big push. And maybe it gets there on its own, or maybe you have to just let a couple things happen before you go in and really slam it in. But, you know, we both also just are good caregivers to a project.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, as producers, we feel it's our responsibility to kind of create the environment that we want to have on set and to recognize the true north of why did we do this? What was the writer's vision? What is the director bringing? Because so many things can pull people in different directions, and we're the ones to kind of shepherd it back towards the original intent. But yeah, it's also good to just have someone to kind of throw things off of. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think? And whether that's creative problem solving or logistic problem solving.
But also it's fun.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
Like Robert always says that. He's like, whenever we pitch projects, he's like, you guys want to walk in there and be the people that people want to be with.
Yeah, I'm like, can I work for you guys? This sounds real. You guys are awesome.
It's like, I feel like we get that. And we also feel like that it's infectious, and we just really like to hang out, like talk to each other and problem solve. And like, that is how we're geared. So I think, and we realize that it is infectious. So it's like, it's kind of feeds itself.
Yeah.
You know?
We're also both really straightforward. Like, don't
direct to a fault.
Direct to a fault. No game playing.
No,
and
no
if
bullshit.
we sniff out someone who is, we're just like, okay, what do we do with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we work with this person if they're not going to change? Because we also know, again, after a lot of years, most people you run into aren't going to change. So you just have to change how you deal with them. And we're very good at kind of figuring that part out as well.
But being straightforward also, I think, creates a safe space for the other person. Like, I think people sometimes feel like they have to like be playing a game or something. And it's like, no, we're good. I respect you. We respect each other. We're safe. Like, we're safe. You can be yourself. Like, it's really about, I think we've had such an opportunity being executive producers, because you get to hire so many of the people and create that alchemy, that it's like you can literally it's so easy to just get people off the hook from having to do it. Nobody wants to be playing games. I believe that. Maybe that sounds, but I think that you kind of have to liberate them, you know, and that's what,
or at least give them an opportunity. I do think some people are wired.
Some people
like
are
that.
wired like,
I just very quickly, like someone literally told me this recently. I was on the phone with them. We worked together, and they were like, Andy, I just really appreciate that, like, we can be direct with each other. I like, you're always telling me how it, and I'm like, is that not a thing that people normally do? Like, it makes no sense to me to not be straightforward. Why waste anybody's time? So it's fascinating to me that that's apparently like not a thing. I get, maybe that's naive of me. I don't know, but I was very, very taken aback in that conversation.
It's so exhausting to be like, first of all, I mean, I have no poker face. Like, I would be the worst. Like, she literally is like if I get like, it's really not great. Especially on Zoom when I'm like, it's just a bot. But it's like, why not? Like, otherwise you're just trying to catch your tail of playing a game of whatever. And people pick up on that energy, and it feels like all of a sudden you're not on solid ground. And I think even in spite of it, there's definitely been writers or artists that have been like, whoa, like, wow, you're really coming in hot. But then they appreciate it because they can trust it. So I not to be
it's also then consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the biggest thing. And again, that goes back to being a mom. Like, you just have to be consistent in your behavior. I was
going to say, are you guys molding your kids to then, take over your role, bringing them on set, showing them how to do it?
Well, who knows, right? We'll see what happens with their future lives. But they do get to experience cool things in terms of, they were all in Thailand with us and stuff like that. Cool. So there is a benefit to it.
I think they definitely look at it. And my oldest is 8, and he's like, this is cool. Like, he's like, we get to go on adventures as a family, and like, you love your job. I think ultimately that's the most important thing.
Yeah. They're not seeing the firefighting that we do.
They don't. It's weird. It's like they only see the good stuff.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
They're young enough. That should be it.
Well, I want to talk about that poker face that you were talking about there, but I also, Susan, I want to test your poker face, just because while we have you, we know, like you mentioned Sympathizer, we know you guys have some exciting projects coming up, but I specifically want to ask you about Sherlock Holmes 3. Is this still like a thing? Is this happening? Should I feel confident? I love the Sherlock Holmes movies. I really, really do. So please just like tell me what you know.
Well,
she knows it all.
Here's what I can tell you. And Amanda can attest to this. Yeah. Prior to this, we had lunch together with Robert, the 3 of us.
Yeah.
And it was a very specific topic of conversation. So yes, it is in the hopper. We're going to do it when it's right with the right people, but it is a priority for the company and a priority for Robert.
I like that answer.
Yeah, I like it.
I like that answer a lot. Emily, ask them about their other projects. Do it while we got their guard down. They like us right now.
Yeah, no, but we are curious. You guys have so many projects kind of coming up. Maybe another season of Perry Mason. What are you guys most excited about?
Well, I think Sympathizer is one that we are incredibly excited about. Obviously, Perry coming to its conclusion in terms of a second season. We're fingers crossed on a third. They don't tell us. We won't know. But Sweet Tooth is also about to come out. Second season of Sweet Tooth, which we're really excited to share with everyone. Yes, April 27th. Good.
Yeah.
And so
you've done this before.
I know. I'm like, our trailer was just released today. It's been like, Sweet Tooth is such a beautiful show, and we're so proud of it, and it's so different for us from Perry Mason. So it's like, it's funny that they're kind of both happening at the same time now.
I know. Well, and our Sympathizer trailer teaser was put out as well, which is also incredibly different than those two. And then we're also about to have the Downey's Dream Cars, which is a unscripted show that we did with Discovery Plus, and that's coming out in June as well. So there's quite a few things that we're excited about. Then there's stuff that's a little bit more in the development hopper. So Helltown, which we love, that's over at Amazon with Ed Berger and Oscar Isaac and us, based on a Casey Sherman nonfiction novel. So yeah, there's just, I don't know. We wake up, we look at our slate, and we're like, what can we do to move these things forward today? And there's nothing on there that we're like, ugh.
We don't really get involved in things that we're not all in on, because we do talk about them every day. We push them forward every day. Everything is like almost an obsessive level of like, let's get this live. Let's get this out there. So I think Sympathizer is going to be a big one for us. And I think it's maybe slightly kind of indicative of us as a company kind of crystallizing a vision in a way, because it's Park Chan-wook, who's an incredible auteur, but also just it's disruptive. It centers characters that you don't ordinarily center. It's really about the Vietnamese cast. They're really the show and the thrust of the show, and this absolutely incredible breadth of talent that you realize Hollywood has overlooked for so long. That's been really exciting. But at the core, it's also a genre show. It's a spy thriller. So there's something about the kind of nature of it being genre and propulsive storytelling.
It's also world building, which we love. And I say that because oftentimes world building is thought of as a sci-fi term, and it's not. Like whether we're Perry Mason and creating LA of the 1930s, Sweet Tooth is creating this sort of beautiful storybook dystopian world, or with Sympathizer, we're back in, mostly LA and a little bit of Vietnam at the, after the fall of Saigon. So all of these, we get to create these worlds that feel incredibly authentic and rich. We love that.
Beautiful. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm sitting over here bouncing over here like a child. And
That's good. Well, I know we have to wrap, but one final question before we do, and that is so much of our audience are young women looking to break into the industry. What advice do you have for them?
I get this question. I'm always like, because we just like put our like nose down and do the work. That is like the lamest piece of advice, but that's what I tell people.
I would say watch everything, read everything, become an assistant, because that's like the biggest skill. Like that's like feels like but I feel like being an assistant, I learned so much of what to do and how to get things done. I would say find your people. That's a big thing. Find the people that inspire you, that you can share your opinions with until others will listen. It's like really find your community, because that's really that's actually what this all is like what we love is like these shows, you get to create a community, and so it's finding those people that you really connect to, make you better.
I also personally, because I didn't spend a ton of time as an assistant, I feel like no job is too big or too small.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big thing too, because when I started, it was at a company that was always in production. So I was really lucky in that regard, because you do want to, that's the other piece of advice, as much as anyone can control it, is try and be at a place that is really making things, because you can have a lot of fancy titles, fancy places, but they're not actually continually making whether it's film or television or whatever it is that you're interested in.
And it doesn't have to be the fanciest stuff.
Exactly.
It should
as
just
long
be
as you're
the
doing
stuff that's
it.
making,
Yeah, as long as you're doing it, you're going to get that experience. And I think that, again, whether it's a small thing like how do we make this meeting really accessible and comfortable for everyone, and thinking what that environment should look like. I know that sounds silly, but like make sure there's freaking snacks and drinks and something small like that, all the way up to, hey, you know, for me, it was like, hey, you're out of college for a year and a half, but you got to run, 22 episodes of a syndicated show. I was like, okay. But, you just do it. You just put your nose down, you figure it out. You don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't have to act like you know more than you do. I think that's a big pet peeve of ours when we work with people who you're like, they don't fucking know. They're just not asking. They feel like they have to act like they do. And there's a difference between acting as if, which means taking on a responsibility and behaving like you can do it and having that kind of confidence in yourself that you'll grow into it. That's very different than bullshitting and not admitting when you need some help or want to get more information. So to me, it's trying to be authentic and do the work. And again, big job, small job, all of it is for producing is going to work towards creating an environment to get something done. Totally. Which is really what we're trying to do.
Incredible. You're both incredible.
I know, I'm like, this has inspired me this whole conversation. I'm like, should we become producers, Andy?
Emily and I, we're going to open our own producing company. We're going to be coming for your competition. We're going to be your competition, and it's going to be.
No, we do it together.
No, we're going to collab, Andy.
I like competition. Come on, baby.
I like a line.
This is how you know, Emily. I feel like we're looking at our future right now. Like Amanda's future me. I'm just gonna hit my mic real quick. Amanda's future me. Susan's future you. I love it. You ladies, thank you so much for talking with us today. We really do appreciate you and your time and all of the projects you have coming. You're incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're back. Did I say I don't like to be that like I told you so person, but like did I say it? Like it's Emily and I in a couple of years. Like if we start producing projects, it's us. Susan and Amanda are us, and it's amazing.
It is amazing. And also too, because I realized this as well. At the beginning of the episode, we were talking about how funny it is when like celebrities refer to their significant other friends, like, oh yeah, we know them. And it's so funny when Susan and Amanda are like, oh, and Robert, and we're with Robert,
just
fucking Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. I will never ever call him just Robert, right? He will always be like RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. But
there's certain people who also you have to say like their first and their last names.
Yeah, and it's wild, but yeah, I still take pride in the fact that Susan Downey and I are from the same place. There are not many people that I can say in this industry are from Schaumburg. You what?
I want some swag from.
You want some Schaumburg swag? You absolutely don't want
some swag. Can we call it swag?
Some swag. It would be fitting for the town. It took everything I had because listen, we do have a Schaumburg, like a town song. There's like the high school fight song, right, that everyone has, but there is a Schaumburg like town song, and it took everything in me to not bring that up.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I'm not going to do it. You're not going to get me to do it.
You got to follow us on Instagram, and Andy will post a video of herself.
That is 100% a lie. Actually, that's like 99% a lie. You should follow us on Instagram, and you can find us at WrapWomen. And right, is it WrapWomen or TheWrapWomen? I always forget.
To clarify, because people get confused a lot. It is WrapWomen on Instagram and at TheWrapWomen on Twitter. And you can also sign up for our newsletter at WrapWomen.com.
See, and I have to clarify because I have this same problem. My Instagram handle and my Twitter handles are different. So like my Instagram handle, probably somewhere down here at some point in this video, maybe not right now, but like it was right in this general area. It's really _Andy. And then on Twitter, it's just really Andy. So like, it's just, I live for uniformity, and it sucks when people take your handles.
The worst. But anyways, y'all get to hear from us next Friday as well. And the next one, we have a couple of upcoming episodes that are just going to be so fun, unhinged, unfiltered, a grand old time.
And we just really can't wait to give them to you. So we're not going to wait to give them to you. We're going to just shove them in your face in a really loving and tender way.
With love. But thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of WrapWomen's UnWrapped podcast. Again, I'm your host, Emily Vogel, and
I'm Andy Ortiz.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, guys.